Greetings. Some stray thoughts as we continue to develop our minds, our concepts, reminding ourselves of things that we need to be on top of, that we need to keep in the forefront of our minds as we consider where our society is, where our country is, and how we need to be in order to regain our society and our country. One thought, jumping right into the thought of the day, as we consider our values, what do we value? Do our values inform our thinking and our positions and our understanding of things? Or are we just partisan? Another thought along those lines, and along the lines of how do you listen? Those are both earlier videos. Go watch them. Here's a different question. Are you ever wrong? Do you ever admit you're wrong? This would be in the realm of politics, political activity, issues, who you voted for, what you supported. Are you ever wrong? Have you ever been wrong? Are you always right? If you're always right, then you are partisan. Your party matters more to you. There's more to it than that, but in terms of politics, the discourse, the news, these kinds of things, if you're never wrong, even when you are, even when you know it, but instead of admitting it, you manipulate around it. You evade, you avoid, you redirect and misdirect. If, when it's time to discuss an issue, to consider something, a point, a position, if you've never later said, I wasn't right. That did not work out the way I thought it was going to. Or I thought it was going to work out like this, but now that I see it working out like this was a bad choice. Or something along those lines. If you are able to look at your own decisions critically, which means that sometimes you're not going to be right, or sometimes you won't have supported the better choice. It's not always either or. Sometimes it is some things better, and you thought this would be better, but it wasn't, and it's clear it wasn't. Or at least it's clear that what you supported didn't work. Can you admit that? Can you say it? Here's an example. It's an older one from time before, because I want you to think about of the last 5, 10, 20 years when you've been wrong and when you've admitted it that you've been wrong. And admitting it first is in your own mind, but it's also in your words. Do they come out of your mouth? I misjudged that, or I misjudged him. An older example is Vietnam, the war in Vietnam. In 1964, 65, 67, 68, there were so many people who supported the war because they believed that what we were being told was not only true, but it was valid. Over time, over the years, over and over and over again, more and more people questioned what we were doing in Vietnam, what we were really accomplishing, how we were getting it done, and they started to really come back to, this is now the 4th year. When is it going to end? This is now the 5th year. You keep saying North Vietnamese are on the verge of collapse. This is now the 6th year, and instead of the war being done, we're now bombing Cambodia. We've moved it into another country to go after the Viet Cong and the North Vietnamese. And more people just from that were questioning why we were continuing to do that. Of course, there were so many more ways and reasons to question. But that was one way over years that many more people were ultimately willing to question what we were doing in Vietnam and to question what our government was telling us. So, jump ahead a little bit, 1973 with the peace treaty, and then 1975 with the fall of Saigon, and then after that, many more Americans understood, particularly after the release of the Pentagon Papers, which showed that our government and Pentagon officials had deliberately lied to us, the American people. Many more people were willing to say, I was wrong in supporting that, or maybe they didn't think they were wrong in supporting it, but they were wrong in continuing to support it as long. To blanketly accepting the descriptions, to getting caught up in the way of presenting it a fight against communism without bringing in, yes, but it's clearly a civil war. It's not communism, it's a civil war. What are we doing in the middle of a civil war that's not our own? So that's an old example of many people coming to a realization who didn't think it initially, but over time, and for many reasons, that they were wrong about how they viewed it, or at some point they should have recognized and changed their minds. Can you admit that you're wrong about anything? I'm not talking personally. Your personal business about never admitting you're wrong is your own business. God spare those around you if you can never admit you're wrong. There, you don't have to pay me for that. But can you admit you're wrong about something? Or that this did not work out the way that I was thinking. Maybe we should really try the other side. Consider the war in Iraq. Most people believed and accepted what we were presented, that it was legitimate and justified. I can tell you when I changed my mind about that. It's the day we got into Baghdad, captured Saddam Hussein, and found there were no weapons of mass destruction. That was the reason we went in, because they said there were. There were none. Not what they were talking about. That's when I knew that I was wrong to support it. I've been looking for them to show since then that they understood the damage that we caused by invading a sovereign nation. That has not happened. The bill is still coming due on that. When have you been wrong? Were you wrong about COVID? Were you wrong about the mandates? Were you wrong about the jab? Because Biden was wrong, Fauci was wrong. They said it would stop you from getting COVID. At what point were they simply didn't understand the science? Capture that, Fauci. Didn't understand the science. Or they were gaslighting you. They were misrepresenting it to you. Where are you in that? Can you be wrong? Can you do the work of sitting down and recognizing you're not perfect, you don't have perfect understanding, and you sometimes believe people you shouldn't have believed? We'll pick this up more. Do your values drive you? How do you listen? Do you understand the role of government? and the various functions of government and the various limitations on authority of government? Do you understand how to vet your sources? Do you understand to critically look at yourself and see if you know how to say, I was wrong about that? Let me listen to somebody else or some other people. We will be better off when more of us are willing to admit we were wrong about something so we can get it right better. Son of Liberty 2020, hamliberty2020 @gmail.com. That's it. See you next time.